Ford's CEO just dropped a bombshell aimed straight at Donald Trump, who is slamming new tariffs that threaten to jack up car prices, wipe out jobs, and send America's EV ambitions spiraling. Ford's fiery response has sent shockwaves through Washington. The American auto industry depends on a tightly woven web of suppliers stretching across Mexico, Canada, and beyond. One small disruption could ripple across that network, with global consequences. So, what exactly sparked this clash? And why is Ford's CEO sounding the alarm? Stay with us as we dive into the details, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Let's get into it. Ford CEO Jim Farley just broke his silence and called out Trump's latest auto tariff plan with a clear message. This move could seriously damage the U.S. auto industry. Trump wants to push more domestic manufacturing, but Farley pushed back hard. He said, "There may even be a speculative part of the market where prices come up because the tariffs are even rumored." That's what I'm talking about with cost and chaos. It's a little here, a little there, a couple weeks or months of vehicles crossing the border, components crossing the border. That's going to be a tariff. This is what we're dealing with right now. Ford, like most automakers, depends on globally sourced components. Even cars built in the US contain parts from Canada, Mexico, Japan, and Europe. Farley noted that tariffs on those could drive up vehicle prices by as much as $10,000 per model. Worse yet, Ford has been pumping billions into EV production stateside, but overhauling entire parts networks overnight? Not realistic. On a call with investors, Farley said, "We're playing chess, not checkers." He cautioned that the tariffs could stall innovation, particularly in the EV space where margins are already razor-thin. If policy keeps shifting unpredictably, Ford could even hit pause on future U.S. investments, a move that would carry serious economic consequences. When Trump rolled out a sweeping 25% tariff on all non-US made cars and parts, Ford wasn't cheering. The company had long anticipated the chaos this would unleash. For decades, Ford treated North America as one interconnected production zone. Cars and components move freely between the US, Canada, and Mexico. That's how modern manufacturing survives. Trump's move threatens to blow it all up. Farley called the tariff a blunt instrument that causes more harm than good, especially since more than 60% of Ford's lineup relies on parts made outside the US. Take the Ford Maverick, for instance. It's one of their most affordable models, and it's built in Mexico. American labor and production costs make it nearly impossible to profit from entry-level vehicles domestically. A tariff on those imports could either spike prices for consumers or kill the model entirely. And the deeper issue is that the US doesn't currently have the infrastructure to replace those foreign components. Rebuilding that domestic pipeline would take years, not months. Ford isn't anti-American production, it's anti-economic sabotage. Ford had already been working behind the curtain to prevent this exact scenario. According to internal sources, Farley personally contacted the White House, warning that auto tariffs would backfire, not just on corporations but on American workers. Ford supports 88,000 direct U.S. jobs, but when you count parts suppliers and logistics, the ripple effect spans hundreds of thousands more. Disrupt that flow and many of those jobs disappear. Former Ford CEO Mark Field said, "We had a tough time getting qualified people who were willing to do this hard, repetitive work on a factory floor." Farley's team presented a detailed economic forecast, projecting a $12 billion financial hit over the next 3 years. But the more urgent warning? That rising costs could shrink Ford's domestic footprint. Fewer models, fewer plants, and fewer jobs. Ford also cautioned that if Mexico and Canada retaliate, which they likely will, the company may be forced to shift even more production offshore just to stay competitive. The White House heard them and then did the opposite. Now Ford is scrambling to adapt. Farley's comments weren't just critiques, they were red alerts. Ford isn't betting its future on gas, it's going electric. Billions have been funneled into EV development, with major investments in Michigan and Tennessee for battery tech and new electric models. But here's the challenge. EVs are global machines. The batteries depend on rare minerals from Asia. Many components come from Canada and Mexico before final assembly in the US. Farley cautioned that tariffs could derail the EV transition by sending costs soaring. Even something as small as a wiring harness, if imported from Mexico, would now cost 25% more. Add that across an entire vehicle and suddenly, the electric F-150 Lightning becomes unaffordable for most buyers. That undercuts Ford's entire EV strategy. And while the US stumbles through a trade war, countries like China and Germany are racing ahead. Ford may be forced to hit the brakes on innovation just as the global EV race heats up. As Farley put it, "We're fighting our own team while the competition is running laps around us." While Mark Field said, "The biggest winners are the Chinese manufacturers." While Western automakers are distracted managing these tariffs, the Chinese OEMs will keep their heads down and continue innovating. It didn't take long for investors to react, and it wasn't pretty. Hours after the tariff news broke, Ford's stock slid more than 4% in after-hours trading. General Motors fell 7%. Stellantis took a hit too. But this wasn't just about the tariffs, it was about instability. When CEOs like Farley can't plan billion-dollar projects because policy changes overnight, confidence evaporates. Farley stressed that consistency matters. Markets don't like chaos, and neither do factories. Now Ford's leadership is weighing tough options. Double down in the US and risk bleeding cash, or start diversifying overseas and face political backlash. Wall Street sees the squeeze. Add in the looming threat of retaliatory tariffs from Mexico, Canada, or even Europe, and the uncertainty only deepens. Ford exports nearly 1 million vehicles to those markets, and that business could vanish overnight. Farley's response wasn't emotional. It was based on hard numbers, but the message was loud and clear. Trump's policy just made Ford's job and America's economic outlook a whole lot tougher. But what does all this mean for the American car buyers? Are you thinking about buying a car in America? It's not going to be as easy as you think. Cars are about to get more expensive. Farley warned that average vehicle prices could rise between $3,500 and $12,000 depending on the model. Why? Because almost no vehicle is truly made in America. Even the ones that are still rely on foreign parts. Want a Ford Bronco? Sure, it's assembled in Michigan, but it includes parts from Canada and Mexico. That 25% tariff hits those components and you'll feel it in your monthly payment. The same goes for the Ford Maverick, F-150, or the electric Mustang Mach-E. Unless you're shopping for a 1970s tractor, chances are your car crosses multiple borders before it hits your driveway. And here's the kicker. Farley also warned that low-margin models might vanish entirely. Automakers will axe vehicles they can't afford to keep making under the new tariffs. So if you had your eye on an affordable compact SUV next year, you might be out of luck. Trump's tariffs don't just hurt automakers, they hit your wallet. And that, Farley argues, is the real shock. Summing up the things, Ford's CEO refuses to accept Trump's tariff plans, warned him of massive price hikes, and exposed cracks in America's EV transition, and how Ford's global supply network, investment priorities, and even the cost of new cars are all in jeopardy. Jobs are being lost, and uncertainty is at its peak. Do you think these tariffs will stay for a long time? Will other automakers stand with Ford to put pressure on Trump and make him take a U-turn on his policies? Drop your thoughts below, give this video a like, and subscribe for more deep analysis videos.